I don't know how we can top week 7, but what we can do is get you ready for week 8 and get you a chance to win a lot of money coming up this weekend. And with that, we welcome in our betting expert, Jon Berger. Jon, let's start in the ACC. Syracuse 6-0, first time since 1987. At 14, it's their highest AP ranking since 2001. Clemson, they've won 37 straight at home, but they're 0 for 6 against the spread as a home favorite of 10-plus points since the start of last season. Tigers, favored by 13.5. Can Syracuse hang with them?
You know, Zach, first of all, good to meet you. I'm glad we could finally work together, and then let's dive in here and unpack some of this stuff. Look, Syracuse, in my opinion, is one of the bigger storylines in college football, and there's a lot of them. But I don't think anybody coming into the season, including me, certainly me, was looking at this Syracuse team thinking they're going to be undefeated this deep into the season. Now we're talking about them going up against Clemson. This is a good football team. This is not kind of your dad's Syracuse. They're very physical. They're athletic. Keep in mind they've got wins over Louisville, Purdue, Virginia. They beat NC State. The other thing, Zach, that you'll notice about this team is they're not going to shrink playing Clemson. You think about the 2017 game, Syracuse won that. 2018, tight game, Clemson barely escaped. You think last year, 17-14, Clemson barely escaped. So this is not a team that shows up and has an issue with confidence playing them. Now, what I will tell you is the secondary for Clemson, a little nicked up, hasn't been kind of the Clemson back seven that we're used to. I just think this number is set a little too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the free money in this situation with Clemson on the money line. I am going to take Syracuse in the points because I think that's just set too high given the performance of their defense. And I don't really know what we're going to get out of Clemson offensively. They've been a bit inconsistent. The other thing I'm going to do is take the under. I think Syracuse is going to show up. I think this team is not going to be intimidated. They got a good defensive, physical defense, which you don't see a lot. That can give Clemson problems. But I do think Clemson wins the game. Take the free money. Take it on the money line. Take it off the table. Take the 13.5 with Syracuse. Take the under, and I think you'll be happy.
Clemson coming off their closest game of the season last week. They beat Florida State by 6. Alabama, meanwhile, they just had that shocking defeat to Tennessee last weekend. They've got another ranked matchup with Mississippi State coming to town.
Was it shocking?
It was shocking to me. I was happy.
It was shocking, buddy.
I was happy to see Alabama go down because you expect them to win every single week. So I think if you see them lose, it's a shock out there. So I'm gonna stick with the shock,
man. Hendon Hooker's for real at Tennessee. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I love it. So Mississippi State, they're in town. They've won 14 straight against the Bulldogs, including both meetings last against Mike Leach by 40-plus points each. Tide giving 21, over-under set at 60.5. What do you like here?
Look, when you unpack these games and you look at them, you try to find some directional data that allows you to kind of make an educated guess on where we're going here. You look at Alabama. They're the most penalized team in the Power 5. The most penalized team in Division I football, in fact, with 66 penalties. Had 17 last week. It's kind of beyond the ridiculous phase. This team is just different than what we're used to seeing in terms of discipline. I think this number at Alabama set at 21. I think it's too big. You switch over to Mississippi State. This is a football team that was probably better physically than Kentucky last week. Lined up, lost that game. I like their quarterback, Will Rogers. So this is like a scattergram, right? There's a bunch of different data points on both teams. When I run into this situation, and I don't have a great deal of confidence on either, what I do know is there's going to be some points scored, and there's probably going to be a lot of them. So in this situation, I'm going to take the over. What I've seen Leach do as a head coach throughout his career, this is a guy that's just going to go for broke. He's going to go bombs away. He gets what the formula is for being in Alabama, and you can't beat Alabama running sideline to sideline. You're not going to push the front four around. But what you can do, if you can gut that defense between the hashes with big plays, which Mississippi State has the athletes to do, then you got a game on your hands. I just don't like I don't like where it's set, big number. I'm going to take the over only because I think both offenses are going to score a lot of points.
Will Rogers has been solid this year, 23 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions for Mississippi State this year, so you can see why those points might be lighting up the scoreboard. Keep it going, only 2 teams still undefeated in Big 12 play. Number 17, Kansas State, 8th-ranked TCU. Horned Frogs averaging over 45 points a game in conference play. Kansas State, they've won and covered 3 straight against TCU. They're 3.5-point dogs to them. What's your play here?
going to take TCU to cover. This is momentum play. Whenever you have kind of these seasons where a team kind of comes out of nowhere, nobody was expecting TCU this deep into the season to be undefeated. They got a chance to run the table and win the Big 12. I think they cover these points. Defensively, I think this football team is going to have a very aggressive game plan. K-State, Zach's going to show up with a run-heavy offense led by the quarterback, Adrian Martinez. I don't think they're going to shove the front seven or the front four from TCU around. I think you'll see a lot of 8-man boxes. I don't think that TCU defensively is going to get gashed a lot in this game. What I will tell you is offensively, I think Max Duggan's one of the stories of college football as well. Came back after losing his job. And this guy's played remarkable against Oklahoma, putting up over 419 in total offense. This is an offense that's very physical. They're going to be in the top 5 in terms of scoring offenses across all of college football. So you add all this up, I just think it's a momentum play. I think TCU can cover this number. I think they do it behind Max Duggan and that high-flying offense, and they're going to play an aggressive defense against that run scheme. I just don't think K-State can throw the football down the field and beat this team, and I think TCU continues this little dose of magical season.
TCU with the win last week, but they did give up 40 points on defense. So next, let's go ahead and get into UCLA at Oregon. It's our home field presented by Verbo. For this one, Chip Kelly returns home to the place he coached for 6 seasons, 4 of them as the head man, and he does so with the UCLA squad that has an offense maybe as powerful and as good as the ones he had with the Ducks. Kelly is 0-3 against Oregon, though, but the Bruins this year are 6-0, while the Ducks have won 22 straight at home. Oregon giving 6. The over-under set at 70 and a hook. What do you like here?
UCLA is a different team, Zach, and people around the country are eventually going to have to control, alt, delete, and reset their mind on this team. This is not the same UCLA team. All right, this is a physical football team. You think back to that win over Utah. What was everybody saying? Well, Utah's owned this team over the years, and they had. The reason they was more physical. They were more athletic. They lined up. They played harder. And you didn't see that. I mean, UCLA, we picked last week to win that football game. It's a much more aggressive team, much more athletic. They play hard. It's almost like a blue-collar mentality. I just think in this situation, it's too many points. DTR at the quarterback position, they've got a solid ground attack. We just talked about that defense. I'm going to take UCLA in the points, and I'm going to do it behind that toughness. Chip Kelly's going to call an aggressive game plan. I think the only thing that could derail that pick, one thing I've noticed about Oregon's offense is the running ability of Bo Nix. This is kind of coming into their offense the last 2 or 3 weeks. When this guy gets loose and he gets downfield in one-on-one situations when the defensive backs are turned around with the wide receivers, I don't know where this part of his game was missing the first 2 or 3 weeks. I don't even know if it's called offense. I don't think it is. I think it's broken plays. But what I have noticed, if Bo Nix gets loose, this guy can run 50, 55 yards a game. That could derail this pick. I just like UCLA and the points because I think they can do it behind that defense, and they've got a solid ground attack offensively.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson, no slouch running the ball himself at QB. He has 4 rushing touchdowns this year already. Staying in the Big 12, another ranked showdown. Texas at Oklahoma State. Longhorns 3-0 this season in games that Quinn Ewers plays and finishes. He's back and healthy after looking good last week. Cowboys' last loss at home came against Texas in 2020. Longhorns favored by 6.5. Do you like that one?
Yeah, I'm going to take Texas to cover this number. This is going to be a tight game. Texas going up into Stillwater, it's not an easy place to play. They have traditionally struggled against the spread, specifically up there. It's a tough place to play for Texas, and we've seen that over the years. What I'll say is, Steve Sarkisian is, you look at their offense and their ability to play call, their ability to design, their Queen Ayers at the quarterback position. This is a guy that can get the ball downfield. Been pretty impressed with him. Their defense, for that matter, is much more aggressive. I just think in this situation, it's enough. I think Texas will have enough firepower to cover. I'm also going to take the over. Defensively, it's just a better football team than they were last year. And I think you have to credit the hiring of Gary Patterson coming over from TCU. Looks like a completely different defense. It's more aggressive, and they're going to need that up in Stillwater. I just think they have too much horsepower, too much firepower offensively, and I think Gary Patterson and that defense will have the right defenses called. They're going to play an aggressive game plan. But I think Texas can cover, but I am going to take the over in this situation.
Quinn Ewers last week had 172 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in that win for Texas. He's Jon Berger. He's trying to get you some money. Thank you for your time as we get ready for another week of college football. Recapping those picks, take Syracuse in the ACC matchup with Clemson, hammer the over in what could be a high-scoring affair with Mississippi State and Alabama. He likes TCU to win and cover against K-State, and take UCLA as Chip Kelly heads back to Oregon and Texas in the game against Oklahoma State with the line set at 6.5. Our SEC game of the week on CBS, Ole Miss seeking their second 8-0 start in school history. Brian Kelly spent a lot of time this week complaining about instant replays from the booth. His Tigers need to worry about a tough opponent coming in instead. It's 3:30 on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.